Well, it's great to do this again. As you know, AEW Dynamite was awesome. I enjoyed every match they did, stories, great surprises. Now, I will show that video by Saturday for all of you, but right now, since it's Thursday, we're going to be reviewing not only MLW and Impact Wrestling. As you know, Impact Wrestling will have their next pay per view the following day, which is Friday the 13th, Hard to Kill. We're also going to be reviewing the latest Pro Wrestling Wave event that took place on New Year's Day. We have at least two title matches that took place and some interesting matches along the way. And then, of course, the latest GLEAT show, version 5, where El Lindaman puts the G-Rex title on the line against an opponent who wins the G Rumble. So we'll find out who won. And also for our news updates, we'll continue to talk more on the latest developments with WWE with the sale, and also what's been going on with GCW's latest events that are coming up and all this and that. So let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with Pro Wrestling Wave with their first show of the year called Wave Nami 1 Nami Hajime Go Wave. So, we only have at least 3 title matches. Now, 2 of them are in fact part of the Pro Wrestling Wave promotion. The other one is from Pro Wrestling Eve. And now I'll get to that. Now, our first match is a gauntlet match that features Sakura Hirota, who's a veteran of the Joshi world, had a challenge at least maybe 14 wrestlers or so. But let me pull it up so that way I can give you guys a better idea of what's been going on. So, now let me take care of that. All right. So, it's of course Sakura Hirata. Her first opponent is that creepy person, Iger. That one ended in a time limit draw. Now, she has only 1 minute to go through the gauntlet. Her next opponent after that, she loses this match to Itsuki Aoki. That one lasted up to 56 seconds. Hirota beats Rina Amakura in 48 seconds. Not bad. Then she has Haruka Omasaki, 30 seconds she beat. Then she won again, but this time it was with Riko Kawahara with 53 seconds. The next one was Tsubasa Kuragaki. She loses to that one under almost 59 seconds with 1 second to spare. Not bad. And then she goes straight to Yuko Sakurai, beats her in 58 seconds. Then she beats Ayame Sazazumura in 55 seconds. Kakeru Sekiguchi, 4 seconds she beats her. Then Miyuki Takase in 59 seconds. Then once again, Iger again, but this time again it's going back to time limit draw. Second time. Itsuki Aoki, who she lost to earlier, but this time she beat her in 4 seconds. And then, of course, we have Tsubasa Tsubasa Kuragaki beats her finally in 31 seconds, and then finally Iger Iger beats her with the 27 seconds. So that was a pretty long match, but it was fun. So I did not imagine she was going to survive. So she won by winning 10 matches, I believe 10 matches, 2 losses, and 2 draws. So basically, she did pretty good. Not going to lie. Now, our next match, we have, of course, a three-way. We got Yuki Miyazaki versus Zuzu Suzuki, and, of course, Asuka, or as we know her, Veni. So it was a very hard-hitting match on this one. There was a moment where Miyazaki was trying to play smart with, of course, with Zuzu Suzuki, because Zuzu is not the type of person who's there to play games and all that. I've always noticed that about her every single time. But in the end, this match ended in a time limit draw with 20 minutes. So I'm sure they will get back to this one or try to correct the mistake. Now, our next match is a title match, but this one is from the Pro Wrestling Eve promotion out of the UK. We have Yu, who is the champion for the Eve International Championship. She puts the title on against um, Ka, Kohaku. So it was a pretty good one, but however, it was Yu with the last ride onto Kohaku and allowed her to retain the title. Now, our next match is the Wave Tag Team titles. Cherry and Coyote Yanama taking on Galaxy Punch, Hikari Shimizu, and Saki. I thought this match was extremely good because, I don't know how many defenses they had so far. Let me look it up real quick. That way we know how many defenses they have, because I know they've been defending it constantly. But there was a timing where, of course, they had to hold up a little bit since Hikari went on an expedition to Mexico. Let's see. So far, they have won like 5 defenses so far. Not bad. So yeah, so they got 5 defenses. So they were. It was Saki, on the other hand, who picked up the win by applying a pinfall onto Cherry, and I think this led to their 5 defense. Rick. Now they haven't. They didn't do no promo or anything. Nobody came out to initially challenge them for the titles. Now our main event is the Regina di WAVE title. We have Risa Sera of Prominence taking on Hikari Shimizu. This match, oh my god, they brought in suitcases, everything, in hopes that for Risa Sera, who's gonna stand her packing, but also make sure she is all bruised up. But in the end, it was, of course, the katana and a knee strike by Hikaru Shida to allow them to retain the titles. However, during the post match, she did a promo, talked, I think, a little bit to Risa Sera, but however, she just found a new challenger, and that is, of course, Kohaku. So she issued the challenge, so I don't think any problem's going to be made in this one. So we'll see what happens from then on. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's just move out with GLEAT. Okay, so let's talk about GLEAT, their latest event, version 5, that recently took place this past weekend on the 8th of January. Now, it opened up with the G Rumble match. Now, this is much like we see with the Royal Rumble, and they get a shot for the WWE or at Universal title at WrestleMania. Well, we instead of having that like another later time, it became more like you win the Rumble, you get the title shot. Some of you may think in this particular way, wouldn't that be enough? Well, think like they won't be enough rest for them. Well, it did, because between this match and then all the way to the end, there was, like, of course, the UWF Rules match, and of course other regular wrestling matches that we're gonna put out. So I have to say this Rumble match, it was anything could have happened. It didn't matter where it was gonna be. We did have people like Gringo Loco, many from the GLEAT roster, anybody who was in there. However, I did not expect that. Recently, we did see Kato Ishida, who in fact lost to Ilda the Man, I think, in version 4. But he is determined to win that belt. He's not going to let this loss stop him one way or the other. He's determined to win this belt because he is trying to make a name for himself in GLEAT since he left Dragon Gate. So I did not expect that, but he will face El Lindaman, who is the G-Rex champion, at the end. Now, our next 3 matches are, of course, UWF Rules match. The first one, we have tag team action on this one. We have Masayushi Miyan from Just Tap Out, and also his buddy Ruya Takekura, also from Just Tap Out. They take on Yu Izuka and Takanori Ito. Now, for me, I wasn't sure about this match from what I can see. I mean, Yu Izuka doesn't have the best track record in in UWF Rules. However, I think he really surprised us because he picked up a major win by applying an armbar onto Miyari. I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Even his partner Ito wasn't surprised. I think he was like, wow, you surprised me. I wouldn't be surprised if he asked him to be his tag partner permanently, but it was a very good upset. I think it was a really good match to enjoy. Now, our next match is the Yoshis. Now, I had a feeling this was going to happen one way or the other. I knew this one was going to happen. We have Yura Suzuki versus Maya Fukuda. Now, if you guys remember clearly, it was, of course, Yura Suzuki teamed up with Mika Iwata from Sendai Girls. They took on, of course, the homegrown girls in GLEAT, Michiko Miyagi and Maya Fukuda. But it was Fukuda who picked up the win against Suzuki when she knocked her out. So it was a complete knockout. So I think this is more of the match where Suzuki has to, how do I say, right or wrong that took place in the recent event with GLEAT. And I think that shows us all on this one. And I didn't expect that she was going to win this one because I was hoping it was going to be Maya Fukuda, who has gained a little bit of experience since joining GLEAT. So it was Yuta Suzuki with the armbar to force Fukuda to pick up to tap out and have her to win the match. I'm like, okay. So she got her a little retribution from there. So we keep moving forward from that. Now, our final match of the UWF Rules match, we have another tag team match. We have Ru Inoue and Hideki Sekin versus Oji Shiba and Sechi Ikomoto. Now, have you guys ever seen Ru Inoue? I think he is from All Japan. Hideki Sekin, he's mostly have a little bit of it. It has I think, an MMA background. So that's what I do know. Shiba from 30 Seconds, and of course, Sechi Ikomoto. I've seen him tons of time. But I wasn't sure this one, how this is going to end. But it was, of course, Ikomoto with the knockout that put away Inoue to win the match. So it tells us right there. Now we go to our regular standard matches with wrestling. People would call this the G Pro Wrestling in some ways. So let's start with that. Our first match, we have Keishi Sato and from 60 Seconds teaming up with Michiko Miyagi, Soma Watanabe, and Septimo Dragon. Now they take on Shima T-Hawk from Strong Hearts, being accompanied by Jack Cartwheel. And there is a, of course, Shigeko Deluxe, this female wrestler, but we all know who that is. If you guys don't know, if you ever seen it, you know who it is. It's Shigehiro Iri, who was there. I thought it was really funny, but I wasn't sure about this one so much because I would have expected them to call another female wrestler to step in for to be there like they have with Michiko Miyagi, but no, it did not. But it was, of course, a spear by who was it? It was a spinning corkscrew by Jack Cartwheel onto Keishi that picked up the win. So it was a pretty interesting match. I know Jack Cartwheel has made a good impression being in GLEAT, especially teaming up with the guys from Strong Hearts. I wouldn't be surprised if they make him their first international wrestler, first gaijin to be part of Strong Hearts. I think that would be amazing to see. So we'll just wait and see and cross our fingers. Now, our next match, we have Kaz Hayashi taking on Luigi Primo. If you guys remember Luigi Primo, he's the guy who does the pizza thing. He made a good impression as well in GLEAT, even when he faced Shima in the last event they had late late last year, and I thought it was pretty fun. So I don't know if Hayashi really find it intriguing, but it was him who picked up the win when he applied a similar version of the rabbit hole that the bunny does, but that's how it ended up with the win. Next match, we have Jun Tonsho taking on Bushi. Now, this match went straight ahead where Tonsho attacked Bushi, tried to see if he can keep down. Keep in mind, Bushi does have a higher star power than him, and I wouldn't be surprised of that. But you could say that Tonsho could pick up the win, but no, you cannot beat the experience of Bushi because he applied the MX, giving him the win. Now, our next match, we have an interesting tag match. We have Issei Onisuka of Strong Hearts teaming up with Minoru Tanaka. They take on the leader of 60 Seconds, Tetsuya Izushi, and, of course, coming from New Japan, Tomoaki Hamna, or as Kevin Keller would say, hey, look, it's Hamna. But it was a real fun match. I think it was pretty interesting. However, I think this is one of those matches where we see Izushi really stepping up his game, knowing that since forming 60 Seconds, they have becoming well recognized in GLEAT. By the way, it was Izushi with a spinning elbow onto Onisuka to pick up the win. I thought that was pretty impressive. Next match, we have Bulk Orchestra, consisting of Quiet Storm, Chekishi Matani, and Hayato Tamura. They take on the Utani, Gringo Loco, and Harley Jackson. Now, keep in mind, these guys have been a pain in the ass to Bulk Orchestra since the formation. Now, we know there were times we've seen Bulk Orchestra and Strong Hearts fight against other units that they don't want to be formed, but now it seems this one is being formed, but under the leadership of Kaito Ishida. Now, this all began with, of course, when Flamita first arrived with Utani, and then all this and that. So basically, it looks more like they were building a faction. But in this case, it was a Death Valley driver by Utani onto who was it? On Czech that picked up the win. But it appears when Bulk Orchestra were willing to get into round 2 with these guys, they were surprisingly attacked by another person. You guys seen him in Pro Wrestling Noah, and now recently he's been making appearance in DDT Pro Wrestling. We're talking about Kotaro Suzuki. Yes, it appears now he's part of this new group, sending a direct message saying that now they run the show. So we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match, we have the G-Rex title, the championship, between challenger Kaito Ishida versus the champion El Lindaman, who's defended that title proudly against any challenger that comes in his wake. However, this is where he has to put himself to the test. Now, he can say that this is the same Ishida that we remember back in Dragon Gate. But, however, Ishida has grown so much, has evolved since then. But the obvious thing is, which one of these two German suplex will be more effective? Well, it did not exactly. So it became clear that it was Kaito Ishida with a brand new move that he applied, the ankle lock, that forced El Lindaman to become the brand new G-Rex champion. So this is what he wanted. He got his little title that he'd been asking for. But it now reveals that he is the leader of a brand new faction called themselves the Black Generation International. Now, why did they call themselves the Black Generation International? If you ask me, here's the thing: the original Black generation is Utani with Flamita in Mexico with 3 others. The international one, you see members. You look at, of course, Kaito Ishida, Utani, and Kotaro Suzuki. They're all 3 of them. They're natives of Japan. However, you got Hartley Jackson from Australia, and then of course Gringo Loco, who's been living here in the States, but he does have a Puerto Rican background. So that kind of fits into the name, or you can call him BGI for short. So we'll see how this, but the real question is, how will the other factions will feel about this one? I mean, we're talking about Strong Hearts and Bork Orchestra, who's been fighting for a long time against each other, knowing that they were trying to prove who is the strongest unit. And I think that tells us now that 60 Seconds, Bork Orchestra, and Strong Hearts have to step up their game if they want to defeat Black Generation International. So we'll see what happens in the next G Pro Wrestling when we get closer and closer and closer, and see how Kaito Ishida will defend this title against anybody that stands in his way. So I think that's pretty much it with this. I believe it's time for MLW Fusion. Okay, MLW Fusion 162. It opened up with the surprise return of Cesar Duran. Now, we haven't seen him for quite some time due to the fact that, if you guys remember, recently someone has been initially attacking the MLW talent. Nobody knows, but of course, Cesar Duran ran like a coward because something spooked him. Court Bauer questioned him about why did he abandon his post. So we don't know what's the extent of that. We don't even know why he returned now, but it appears that he's up to his old tricks or he's up to something. We just don't know yet. Now, our first match we have is the MLW World Middleweight Championship. Lince Dorado challenges Shun Skywalker. If you guys remember, Skywalker beat Myron Reed for that time not too long ago. And I thought it was a pretty good match, this one, because Shun Skywalker has much of the aggressive side that we've always seen in Dragon Gate with him. And I think that tells us that he's not determined to lose this belt one way or the other. But Lince Dorado, who has been making himself a name for himself during the independence, and of course anywhere he goes, has shown a lot of promising. But in this case, it was a shooting star press by Lince Dorado to Shun Skywalker to become our MLW World Middleweight Champion. Now, I have to say that Shun Skywalker did not have this belt for so long. I don't think he had any other matches in between when he won Myron Reed, beat Myron Reed for the title, all the way to now. So I think that kind of put me off guard on this one, but we'll see. And of course, during the post-match comments, Lince Dorado actually was celebrating. Here comes Caesar, happy that Lince Dorado won. I don't know what's the extent of that, but we'll probably find out later. Now, as you know, recently, Alex Kane took the Opera Cup. He refuses to give it back because he felt he earned it the most. He thinks that who holds the Opera Cup controls MLW. You probably say, really, bro? You really think that's how it works? However, Cesar Duran has been trying to, as you know, he doesn't like Alex Kane because he considers him as the most disrespectful person on the planet. He did not want to play the Lucha Libre rules at all. However, he is avoiding one particular topic: Canada and the UK. Reason is this: we all know where the Opera Cup originally stand for. Who was the last one that held it before 2019? Stu Hart. And who's coming from the United Kingdom? Oh, that's easy. They're opponents of the main event. We're talking about Davey Boy Smith Jr. and the Billington Bulldogs, the nephews of the late Dynamite Kid. So, you can tell that the Bomaya Fight Club are not impressed by them, but they are not going to let them try to ruin the parade. But one thing I know for sure in this storytelling, the Bulldogs and Davey Boy are not going to let Alex Kane try to desecrate a, a family a family heirloom that they held for decades. So let's get to the match itself. You see, of course, the Bomaya Fight Club, Kane, Mr. Thomas, and Reed, along with those idiot entourages being there. But Davey Boy Smith Jr. and the Billington Bulldogs, oh my God, that's great. But I have to say, seeing the brothers, the Billington Bulldogs, Tom and Mark, God, they resembled a little bit like Dynamite Kid, and I thought it was a pretty impressive. But I have to say, this is where they put themselves to the test. Can they build up a good impression to the MLW faithful? Well, I have to say they really did. Now, Alex can say Boomaye all he wants to think they are the toughest SOBs. But you got to remember, you got a big family that been in the wrestling business for a long time. We're not just talking about Davey Boy Smith Jr. We all know about his family very well. But I think the biggest surprise is how um, Mark jumped off and took out the majority of the entourage and Kane and of course and Reed. But it was Davey Boy Smith Jr. with a big avalanche power slam onto Mr. Thomas to win the belt. Once the match was won, Alex Kane ran to get the Opera Cup and try to run. He will not run forever trying to hold that cup hostage, claiming that he runs it. He claims that he won. No, he stole it from Davey Richards. Sooner or later, he may have to deal with him and Davey Boy Smith and the Bulldogs once again down the line. So I think that's pretty much it with this. I believe it's time for Impact Wrestling. Okay, so we're only one day away before Hard to Kill. It opened up with announcing that because of what Bully Ray did, they found a immediate not a replacement, but somewhat. But we apparently we'll get to that in a bit. But apparently Josh Matthews, who we haven't seen for quite some time, has stepped up to do a Zoom interview with both Josh Alexander and Bully Ray. Now I knew this is gonna go out of the hand because Bully Ray is saying that now he's in the head of Josh Alexander, that he will become the Impact Wrestling World Champion. But of course, Josh Alexander is not going to take that crap one way or the other. Now, our opening match we have, of course, is Brian Myers along with Matt Cardona taking on He's Got Kids. Oh yeah, Heath along with Rhino. Now, as you know, Matt Cardona is not happy with how the result happened last week with Chris Sabian. But can the results be a little different with Heath? Well, in the way Matt Cardona was trying to interfere, he got Rhino in trouble, and the ref had no other choice but to throw him out. But when Matt Cardona thought, I got rid of you, I'm okay, he got thrown out too. So I'm like, that's interesting, and I don't think he likes that one too bit. But the match went pretty well. You probably would have thought that Brian Myers, since he says he is the most professional, was going to win. Nope, it was Heath with the wake-up call. 1, 2, 3, blammo, he won. Also building up momentum for Hard to Kill. As you know, there's going to be that 4-way tag match elimination for the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team titles. Of course, we have the major players, Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, Heath and Rhino, and then of course we cannot forget Bullet Club's Chris Sabian and Chris Bay and Ace Austin. However, speaking of the Bullet Club, we did hear that, of course, Bay and Austin did say they feel like they're building them, that they are in good momentum coming into this match ever since being part of the best of the Super Junior Tag League. So we'll just gotta see. So we'll move on from that. Now, in the backstage, we did not. Rosemary was ready to take on Savannah Evans. However, Jessica informed Rosemary that she was attacked by 4 people. We can only guess who that is. It has to be, of course, Giselle Shaw, Savannah Evans, Tasha Steeles, and that little lapdog, Jive Doll. So that could have been. Now, Rosemary was not happy with the results. So basically, Rosemary had to go up in the ring. Taya implored Jessica to be by her side because she knows that she cannot be by herself, knowing there's a 4-on-1 advantage on her. So that match kind of played out in a way where, of course, the numbers games was just too much for Rosemary to handle until Savannah Evans applied the full Nelson Slam, won the match, but Jessica tried to protect Rosemary as much as possible to see what happens. Now, we've been seeing the transformation of Taylor Wilde. Now she's throwing this little witch thingy. I don't know what's the deal, but it seems like it's going to be interesting to see that development take place. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we did witness Sami Callihan is determined that he wants to join the design. However, they want him to prove their loyalty over that. That loyalty is he has to shave his head. Did Sami went through with it? It appears he did. And Diener calls this the death of the death machine, meaning he is done. So it's kind of interesting. Now, after the results of what happened last week at the end of Impact, we saw that Scott D'Amore was power drive and then, of course, put through a table. Now, the obvious thing that many fans ask is Gail Kim going to be stepping up? Because since she is, how do I say, she is the, how do I say, she has worked with the management for quite a while, for about a couple of years. However, Gail Kim says that she has a lot in her plate. But she did state it that someone will fill in for Scott D'Amore while he's out. So she said that she has the perfect person who will do that, but she will not announce it until we get to Hard to Kill. So I think we're all going to be excited for that when that happens. So we'll just wait and see. Now, Mike Bailey gets into the ring, takes on Anthony Henry. You know he's probably not in a good mood, knowing have a straight face, knowing that Kenny King attacked his students to get under his skin, which it worked. But Mike Bailey continues to impress us as always. I have to say, Anthony Green did impress us all. I think we don't know if he's going to be signed with any company, but we'll see what happens when we get there, when we cross that threshold. But it was Bailey with the Ultimate Weapon, and 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our main event, we have a six-man tag team match with individuals that will be facing each other at Hard to Kill. We have Moose, Steve Macklin, and Eddie Edwards taking on Jonathan Gresham, Rich Swann, and Joe Hendry. Now, you probably thought this match was going to be a lot. It was an interesting match because, look, we got Moose who's going to take on Joe Hendry for the digital media title. You got Macklin who's going to be at war with Rich Swann. And then, of course, we got Eddie Edwards versus Jonathan Gresham. That tells us the story, what is going on between those two teams. And I think it tells us pretty well. But, however, it was Moose who picked up the win with the spear onto Joe Hendry, giving the win. However, Eddie Edwards remained in the ring in the post-match, hoping and trying to send the direct message that he will leave his past behind. But all of a sudden, the lights started dimming, and then thunderstorm was coming. What does that mean? What exactly? Well, I can tell you what that means. If you guys saw last year, when Eddie Edwards says that he finally killed PCO, that it's over. But Alicia Edwards doesn't believe that. She doesn't think this thing is over. But who knows? We just got to wait and see what happens and Hard to Kill. And I'm excited to see how that is going to turn out. So I think that's pretty much it with Impact. I believe it's time for our news updates. Okay, so welcome back to our news updates. Now, I want to go back to what I said in the last episode where we told that the deal with WWE being sold, they sold it to Saudi Arabia. Now, however, it's not been finalized as the moment. I want to make that now clear since I've been following that when I went to LA to see AEW. So I'm going back to that now, just to get that out of the way. However, I know we've been hearing a lot what's been going on, that people are concerned over, they don't like the idea of Saudi Arabia buying WWE. I get it, it's not good. But right now they're keeping their options open from what I'm hearing. Now, uh people are saying they prefer, I hear fans that say probably those that prefer Disney. Others are saying the USA Network should do it. But however, we are hearing something interesting. Tony Khan, it seems like he's in the pool of of buying WWE. I'm like, okay, some of you may not like it, but some options are better than just having Saudi Arabia. But we'll see how that turns out, because from my understanding, this is going to take a while till it's finalized. We just don't know how long that would be. Maybe a couple weeks or months. We'll just go from there. Now, for our GCW updates that we've been hearing, that I've been following, matches and events have been talked about. So let's talk about that now. For the Don't Talk to Me event, we're going to have Bussy, Consistent, Effie, and Ali Catch take on Charles Mason and Pero. That's a match that we definitely got to see. On the 21st of January, we have Marco Stunt versus Action Mike Jackson, which is going to be a lot of interesting. For our GCW versus New South, that's going to take place on the 22nd. It's been announced that Blake Christian will take on Hunter Blake, who represents New South. William Mack has announced that he's been signed to appear at Middle of the Night on the 18th of February, which is going to be in LA, which is his home turf, which is going to be great for him. Two new names have been added for the upcoming March event on the 4th and 5th for Holy Smokes and Ransom on March. We have, of course, Veni, also known as in Japan, Asuka. She cannot go by that name here in the States, so when she's here in the States, she goes by Veni. She was supposed to come here, the States, not too long ago, but certain things that were not in her control prevented her from doing that. But also another name has popped up. Drew Parker, who's been with GC before, is coming back as well. Now, for the New York event on the 17th of March, Eye for an Eye, Homicide has been signed to make an appearance, which he's originally from New York. And then finally, on the 19th of March in Toronto, Worst Behavior, Always Ready, Mark Cardona will be there. So, yeah, they announced that as well. So, we'll see how that. Now, our JCW updates, the Jersey Championship Wrestling, they announced for a match of the opening round in the J Cup. We're going to have Mike Bailey versus Jonathan Gresham. I have to say that's going to be a good match to enjoy. Now, they have announced for their upcoming event in March, on March 4th, for March Madness at the Showboat in Atlantic City. So, not yet has been announced who's going to be booked for that particular day. I'm looking forward to it. Now, Kenny Omega has talked about potential wrestlers that he would like to challenge, to have them challenge for the United States Championship, the IWGP United States Championship. He named Shingo Takagi, El Desperado, and Hiromu Takahashi. He said he wouldn't mind defending it in the U.S. and in Japan. So basically, he's down however it's going to go. Shingo even responded to this, and he said, let's do it someday. So it appears that Shingo really is interested. So I would say, booked it. Now for our West Coast pro wrestling updates, we have a match that's been announced for an upcoming event on the 4th of March. West Coast, Best Coast. We have Kevin Blackwood teaming up with Alan Angels to take on the Bounty Hunter, Brian Keith, and Starboy Charlie. Now, West Coast Pro, who's been helpful with the King of the Indies and now going to be involved with Queen of the Indies, they just announced that there will be some representatives coming from the Joshi promotion in Japan, Marvelous, that will take place in May. We don't know who could that be. They haven't announced which representatives. I wouldn't be surprised if it's, of course, the current champion, Chikayo Nagashima or possibly Maria. Um, I don't know about Rin Kadokura, who's currently now going to be moving to Canada. I wouldn't be surprised since she is still kind of representing Marvelous, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, I don't know. Anything could possibly happen. So we just got to wait and see. Prestige Wrestling announced for the Reality Unfold event that takes place on the 17th of February. They announced a three-way match. We have Sandra Moon versus Brooke Havoc versus Amira. Um, not I'm just putting it out there for anybody who's fans of these ladies. And also, Dragon Gate has announced that one of their units, factions, have been operating for almost 2 years. High End are now going to be disbanded. Don't know what the other members are going to do. The ones who are still in the group, we know that Ben K turned his back on them and joined Gold Class. That is still unclear and undetermined what's going to say. Interesting factors has been rising up. Now, this has brought up to the attention before, but now it's becoming clear. Tony Khan explained that many of the AEW talent, they said they want to do house shows. I'm like saying, I could see that happening. So, how would you guys feel? I know that um, Tony Khan said that he didn't want to do house shows, or was it Cody? I'm not sure. But I think this is going to be interesting. But I feel like Tony Khan should not overwork the talent too much because I feel that would be bad. But I would like to see house shows. I mean, I have worked house shows. They're real fun and interesting. I think I might have worked maybe 3 or 4 of those. But nevertheless, I would like to see that. So I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I will be reviewing, of course, AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. And I'll try to throw in time for Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill. I don't want to miss it. Now, some of you may ask me, hey, J-Rod, didn't you watch it? Yes, but I feel like I want to get a point of view. I'm not going to review Dynamite because it's already late for me. I feel like I normally would do that, but I felt like I want to focus on right now I'm currently trying to visualize what I'm going to do with for my trip down there. I may add in some stuff that I will do like later that I did later on, and I think this is going to be interesting. I will release the dark episodes, dark elevation episodes as a bonus. I feel like that's going to do that, but I will review Rampage now. If there's any other events that I'm going to do, because there's still some I haven't got to, I will do those as soon as possible. So we'll go from there. We'll just see how it's going to happen. So I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.